I love that.
So great options.
Those are great options. Great to see you all this morning. That was fun. Do you have any more questions, Natalie, or was
Nope,
that it?
that's all.
Okay. I love starting off that way. I think that's just a fun way to hear how other people handle project or things like this, and just a fun way to get us started. So I'll turn it over to Rhonda now.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry for my tardiness. Having some technology issues here at the office. Good to see everyone. Wanted to see before we introduced our speaker if anyone had updates from their organization that they wanted to share with the larger group.
I don't mind jumping in. I haven't met, I don't think any of you yet, but my name is Scott Fitzgerald and I'm with Buddy Pegs. And we offer early childhood bicycle programming in the Kansas City area. And we just launched our first 3 embedded early childhood education center programs in Johnson County. So I thought it would be a good time to sort of jump in on this call. I've been meaning to join for a while and schedule hasn't allowed, but we're now offering bicycle classes at 3 different development centers in Johnson County, and that'll all start up next week. And we're really excited and actively looking for coaches. So if anybody is interested in working with 2 to 5-year-olds on small space bicycle curriculum, would love to talk to you.
That's great, Scott. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your business?
Sure, yeah, happy to. We are actually based in Arkansas, but we service Kansas City as well. Right now, we're doing most of our programming around the Johnson County area. We do a whole bunch of summer camps for kids 5 to 10 years old, all bicycle related. And then we also do pre-K classes. Typically, the pre-K classes are held inside a preschool or an early childhood development center. Our coaches arrive at those centers with bicycles, ramps, cones, ropes, all kinds of riding activities and equipment. And we really, the goal is to start introducing children and ideally their families to the active lifestyle of bike riding at the earliest ages. So nowadays with the balance bikes, children can get on a bike at 2 years old and start to really explore and move and, develop a lot of cognitive, behavioral, and emotional skills using the bicycle as a vehicle for discovery. But there's been a real lack of programming around that. So parents kind of know about bicycles and balance bikes, but most don't really have any guidance or awareness of how to really introduce their children in a meaningful way. But it's a great opportunity for families to use the bike as a way to get off the couch, get outside, and develop a healthy lifestyle with their kids at the earliest ages. So we developed a whole bunch of curriculum to help guide families into that sport at the earliest ages. And we've found that going to the preschools themselves is the best way to do it because parents are busy, right? And they love to have additional programming at those preschools. And it's just amazing. I mean, you all know the value of the first 5 years of a child's life. And we're just seeing more and more that the bicycle can play a meaningful role in that. So we're really excited to grow that pre-K side of what we do so that kids have an early, I could go on and on. I don't want to take too much time, but it becomes harder and harder for kids to get into biking the older they are. When we work with them at those 2, 3, 4-year-old ages, they pick it up so quick and they develop the internal balance and the resiliency and the self-confidence needed to continue that sport. And parents all of a sudden realize that that can be a really great family activity. So yeah, the name of our company is Buddy Pegs, and I'll put a link here to our website also so you can see sort of the pre-K stuff that we do. And it's a great, we pay our coaches, and it's a great opportunity for retired educators, stay-at-home parents, anybody with some flexible time in their schedule to do some early morning work with these kids You don't have to be a bicycle fanatic. You don't even have to be, actively riding, because it's young kids in a small space. And it's about, connecting with the kids more than being a, advanced rider at all.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing, and we're glad to have you here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Scott, quick question. Do you only serve Kansas?
No, we're based out of Arkansas. So we do a lot of programming around the Bentonville, Arkansas area, the Fayetteville, Arkansas area, and Kansas is our first expansion market.
So now that you're in Johnson County, Kansas, you're really close to that state line. Do you have any plans for expanding into Missouri anywhere?
We do, yeah. We did some summer camps in Missouri last year. And I think really what it came down to is more of a marketing challenge than anything else. We got a lot of pickup in Johnson County, so we decided to just focus our efforts there this year to make sure that we had a good, solid foundation in the area. But we definitely want to expand into the Missouri side for sure.
And so this is sort of I know we're getting aside here and maybe we can talk offline, but what is your funding source? So do early care and education centers need to pay for your services to come to their center?
Mostly we charge the parents directly. So yeah, at the preschools, most of the preschools are familiar with having vendors come in to do extracurricular programming. And we, one of the big goals we have with our programs is to normalize bikes against all the other sports. So whether it's soccer or gymnastics or dance that come into these preschool centers, what we're really trying to do is position bikes to say, hey, it's just like a soccer program coming in. It's just like a dance program coming in, or the art bus or whatever. And hopefully that's an easy way for the preschool directors and the parents to kind of wrap their heads around, oh, my kid could take biking too. And just normalize bikes.
Great.
Great. Thank you so much. Any other updates from your organization before we introduce our partner spotlight?
I'd like to share really quick about just an update about the Dr. Kraft training, which was back in February. We did the inclusive physical activities with young children with disabilities. And once again, Dr. Kraft, it was a huge hit. Everybody told her, I don't know that anyone here joined, but I told her we really need to make her an honorary Missouri resident, because people we had over 120 people on the webinar, and 106 completed the certificate and got their clock hours. And we actually had 10 Kansas sites, which I was really excited about, because we didn't get the clock hours, but they stayed and they were really, involved. I know, Chris, I was really happy about that they got to join in. And I will say we had also a lot of interest in the Nemours Pals project that we're doing, which was also really exciting. And we had people reaching out that they were interested in joining Pals. And I saw that you had 2 team members that joined. So yeah, it was another awesome event with Dr. Kraft. We have the next goal, I feel like, is to get her here in person somewhere close, maybe Kansas City, or one of our. So anyway, that's
Lisa,
it.
that's great. How many attendees did you have?
So total attendees, we had, I think it was 123.
Wow.
Which is still, pretty good. I mean, consistently it's over 100 that attend her Saturday webinars. So that's awesome. Missouri is one of her, she loves doing she's always shocked at how many people sign on for our training, our Saturday trainings. So it was good.
That's great. Thank you so much for that update. Anybody else?
I'm going to share real quick about an event we have coming up at the Family Conservancy. May 6th, we're having our third, we're not calling it parking lot party anymore, but that's what we've called it the past 2 years. So it's a day of play. So it's a day where families and childcare providers can come with their kids, and there's a lot of great activities, and so just a day of fun, and it's kind of meant to teach families and childcare providers maybe some new activities that they haven't done before. So it's May 6th at the Family Conservancy in Kansas City, Kansas.
Great.
Do you
Thanks
have a
for sharing.
flyer or anything for that, Katrina, that we can include in our update to this meeting, our newsletter?
It is not quite finished yet, but it will be shortly. And so, yeah, I'll pass it along.
Okay, great. And the other thing that I'll just share quickly, we just heard this week about a community baby shower the hospital is hosting in conjunction with the Black Healthcare Coalition, and they've given us permission to disseminate the information broadly. So let me see, I should have thought to bring that up so I had the dates handy. Natalie, do you happen to remember when that is? But and even if we can't find it quickly, I'll try to find it by the end of this meeting, and if not, we'll include that in the newsletter update as well.
Sounds great, Shelley.
I should probably also mention that we have 3 kids bike races coming up in the next few months, and I'll post a link in the chat to those as well for kids 2 to 11 years old. So it's gonna be really fun. Small space community parks that we activate for these really fun little kid bike races.
That's great. Thank you. All right. Well, if there's no other updates, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda. And today, this month for our early childhood sector meeting, we are looking forward to having someone from the Family Conservancy be our guest partner spotlight. And this is going to be Emma Bart Plange. And I'm going to turn it over to her.
So, yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Emma Bart Plange, and I've been with the Family Conservancy for over 16 years. And in that, in the Family Conservancy, I've had various roles, and but I've always worked in the same department. So, and you know Katrina, so I know you know a little bit about the Family Conservancy. And Katrina, thanks for bringing the event to the spotlight. I started with the Family Conservancy actually as an intern when I was doing my master's in the at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. And well, most of the time you have an internship and their mission and vision aligns with yours, and you want to come back or stay. And so for me, that's what happened. And being able to work with the providers and the teachers and directors has always been my passion. And like I said, one of the things that brings me so much joy is when you work with a provider, you work with a teacher or a director, and then you see the joy on their reaction after they have had an interaction with a child. And when they see the impact of their reaction and they see how powerful it is and what it has on a child, it's such a joy to be able to see that. And so, yes, I've always loved to work with the early care and education field. Yes. So today, I just want to talk to you a little bit about a new initiatives at the Family Conservancy. We have different departments, and one of the departments is the early care and education department, where I am the Family Childcare Network Manager. I just recently moved into that role. And before then, I was working a lot with the Class 2. Most of you may have known it, but it's an interactive tool that we use to help teachers to improve their interactions with children. Do I have can I share my screen? Okay, yeah, okay. if I'm able to, let me share some, a little bit about the network I want to talk to you about. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And what I want to say is I want this to be interactive. So I know there is time for questions and answers, but please feel free if you have any question as I talk you through the this initiative to put it in the chat or actually unmute yourself and ask. That should be fine. Okay. So one in our early care and education department, one of the new initiatives that we have is a family childcare network. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about family childcare. I'm sure most of you know a lot about it, but just to recap, you know, we all know the important role that they play in the family childcare system, having that small group in a home-based setting and mixed age group. And, you know, some of the times, so the hours that they provide for families hours that they may not have at other places or centers. So we know that they have a unique role in the childcare system. But we also know that during the pandemic, and even before the pandemic, we had a lot of family childcare programs closing. And we know that it's because of a lot of challenges that they face, right? There are challenges with resources, with professional development, challenges with the hours, and of course, challenges with isolation, since they are most of the time on, you know, on their own. And so with all these challenges in mind, here comes the family childcare network, you know, bring some promising, let's call it promising solution to these challenges. And so before I talk about the network, I just want to say, ask you one question, maybe two in one. For a minute, just think about an organization or association that you have belonged to, you know, you have been in. And I want you to think about how you felt, you know, what was meaningful for you and what was the outcome. I just want you to think about that for a second. And if anyone would like to you know, unmute and share, that would be great. If you want to put in the chat, that would be great. But I want you to just think about that for just a minute. Yeah. And any volunteer, please.
Emma, are you referring to any kind of group that we participated in?
Any association at all, like NAFCC, any small group, like we were in KQRS, right? Any such group that you belong to. I want you to talk about that experience in that group. Yeah, in belonging to that group. Yeah.
Well, not on the national level, but this group right here, anytime I can get together with others that work in the same space and share, you come away with resources, you come away with connections and build relationships.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you,
I-
Chris. Yes, go ahead.
I agree with what Chris said. And I was also going to say what came to mind for me too is support and
Yes.
understanding and kind of sharing problems and working or, you know, working towards solutions. And that's a great, it can be a really uplifting piece of our work that we need a
Mhm.
lot of times.
Exactly. The support, connection. Yes. Thank you. That's right. And anyone else before I continue, please share. Because it's important to be able to relate it to our own everyday life and to be able to, delve deeper into this. Okay. All right. Yes, so you have mentioned isolation, you know, being able to connect, being able to know about initiative, being able to even listen to what has to be said. If you feel belong, just like this little group that we have today, we've been able to share, people have shared their experience and things that a new initiative, yes. And that actually is what we can look at for the providers as well. When we talk about network, we are looking about their connection. We're looking about bringing people together, connecting them, making them feel wanted, making them feel their voices to be heard. Those are some of the things. And in this particular case, in our FCC network, we're I call it fortunate to partner with All Our Kin. All Our Kin is a non-for-profit organization, and their only goal is just to uplift family, support family childcare providers in so many different ways. And they have been very successful in creating staff family childcare network in various states. And so in partnership with All Our Kin, we've creating the family childcare network in Kansas City metro area. So I'm going to, since we are the Family Conservancy, served by states. So yes, this family childcare network is also for Missouri. It's serving both Missouri and Kansas family childcare. So here, when we think about this network, here are some of what we are looking at, and for this creating a family childcare network for our providers. The network aims at building relationships so that there is a continual and long-lasting relationship between the staff that are committed to doing this work with the providers, connecting the providers to resources. Sometimes access to resource is a challenge, and sometimes it can be overwhelming too. And so we have both sides of the equation, let me call it that way. And one of the goals of this network is to be able to connect family childcare providers to various resources, being able to either individualize or group support for their professional development. And I'll talk through this again: peer learning, communities building, leadership, making sure helping providers to have their voices heard. And one of the another very important thing is that in creating the family child network, we are looking at building on also existing support within the community. And so that in that vein, for all of you here, if there are resources or there are information that you wish to have make known, to family childcare providers, this is the network. This is what the network can also do: be able to channel or be able to lead family childcare providers to the various resources that we have within our community. Okay, so how are we going to do this? For one thing, we have professional development opportunities for family childcare. And when I talk about helping providers with their business, we're looking at how do you help providers grow their business and sustain their business. We're looking at how do you help providers see themselves as business owners and educators. One of the things we have is business training series and I'm talking about only family childcare providers here. Business training series for family childcare providers. And it takes them through all aspects of their work. We know providers wear different hats. And so in order to support them, we have to look at these various hats that they wear. And so it takes them through contracts, marketing, accounting, paperwork, and it's a long list, so yeah, but think about the business and how they draw their policies, risk management. So we have this business training series for the providers to go through. Another thing that we also have is we are helping providers at different levels. And so whether it's starting a new business or whether it's the provider is in the business already, maybe they now want to have some of providers are registered, right? Maybe they want to go in, apply for licensing. Maybe after licensing, they said, I don't know what to do. Or maybe somewhere along the line, they're already there and need all this encouragement. So it's more individualized and at the same time, group meetings for the providers. Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to connect them, be able to bring them together at different times, to be able to share, just like we are sharing today, to be able to share information and have questions and answers to questions. So in effect, I would say being able to provide like a warm hand to providers where they can have their voices heard and questions answered. Okay. I've talked a lot. Any questions so far?
Emma, remind me, this is on both sides in Kansas and Missouri, correct?
Yes, that's right. We are serving both Kansas City and Missouri. Yes, yes, that's right. Yeah. And so this is I've just put some of the why there to be able to help providers grow and sustain their businesses. And we know that by doing that, we are strengthening, the childcare system. If we are able to get more providers on the field, we hope that it's going to encourage, improve our workforce development. Once again, because when we look at the other professional development opportunities that we have for them, we're hoping that it will also like curriculum and interactions, so many different ones. It can lead to, enhancing the quality of care that they have for children. And of course, being able to strengthen the relationship with the families as well. We have developed, I'll show you here. We have a website. Oh, I hope it shows. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so and I'll put the link to the site in the chat, or I can email it to all of you. But we have a site here where we started building. This is early. These are the early stages, and so, this is a site that you can go to and see some of the trainings that we have and some of the offerings that we have for this network, actually for the family childcare providers. One of the things that I haven't mentioned that we are also is going to inform this work is the advisory council. So, and I always say we say this is part of is for our community, and since it's also going to build on the resources or some of the resources in the community, it makes sense to have some of our partners on the advisory, on the advisory council to be able to inform this work and keep it moving and keep it stronger and stronger. So it's nice to meet all of you here, and I would say I'll reach out to you, or please reach out to me if you'll be interested in being part of the advisory council as well. So I think I gave myself, I think I'm right on track. Okay, I was looking at the time to be respectful of your time too. So I will pause here for any questions that you have. Maybe I can stop sharing for a minute so I can see everyone. And
it's me again, Emma. I plopped in the chat box that I did talk with Amy Cochran last week, and I know Lisa, that since she's working on both sides of the state, we kind of talked about embedding or offering Go Knapsack to the family child care providers. Amy is a Go Knapsack consultant working with another project. So I think we just, I know I didn't want to overwhelm her at this point because I know it's just starting, but I did want to make sure that got on our radar. And Amy is hoping to join the next call we have for resources. So she'll be a great resource on both sides of the state to be able to share that information.
Yes, thank you, Chris. That's right. I meet with Amy once a week. Yes, that's right. So we have talked about that. And that is very important. We want to be able to let providers know about, the network. We want them to come together. We want them to feel supported. We want them to know the resources we have for them, the resources that is available in the community for them. And how great it will be to just be able to go to one spot and be able to say, hey, for my families, I can talk to them about the bicycle. What's the name of the bicycle? Buddy Rex. That's right. That would be great because as family providers work with their families, they also want to be able to share what is available. They want the families to connect. And how how cool will it be for a mom and a mom and daughter, mom and son, to connect through bicycle activity? That is great. It becomes a shared activities, right? There you go. That's right. And then you talk about gardening. Yes. Wouldn't it be nice to? I don't garden a lot. I did a little bit of agriculture in school, but it's only last year that I was able to actually plant cucumbers and tomatoes, and it was so nice. I said, why haven't I done this in a very long time? But I get up in the morning sometimes and I walk to the back and I water it, and I'm always asking, what else can I do to let it grow? And so I was thinking, why didn't I do this when my children were little? It would have been so great to connect with them. And I took pictures and sent to them. I see what mommy grew, and they were all excited. And so as we are talking, I'm thinking, yeah, these are some things that we can connect providers to, right? And they can share with their families. The families would have something to do with the children, right? And so, yeah, so I know that is great. And I can tell you in one of the training that we had, which is the business training series, which is one, it's a very, it's intensive, but very rewarding. I hear providers as we go through saying, wow, I understand this more than I did. And they look at marketing. How do they market? Because it talks about, how you market your product and how you help your customers, I call them customers, our families, know that this is a business. How do you share that information? And you hear questions like, oh, people owe me so much and they are not able to pay, and I feel bad asking. And then we talk about those, there are others in it that say, I went through the same thing, but going through these classes, I've been able to know how upfront I have to talk to them. What do I put in my contract? What do I put in my policy? How do I introduce that to them at the beginning to help them understand, what is, maybe what they're getting into, or to have the partnership. So the conversation is not a hard conversation. It's not difficult, but it's personal, but at the same time, it's business, and it's also, relationship based. And so through these training, the business training series we have for the providers, they have shared a lot about what they have gained, in addition to the connection they have with one another, how it has actually helped their business, and also their self-esteem, and then their voices. Because last week when we're talking about time space and how they can look at that in terms of their taxes, one provider said, oh, well, I guess now I should be able to help my tax person know exactly what's the space I'm using for my childcare. Before then, he said, oh, let's just use this number, and she was fine. But now she said, with this knowledge, I think I have a voice. I will be able to say, hey, this is how we can use it. So yes, I want to say, I'm excited about this network, and especially be able to help providers see themselves as educators and business owners as well, to raise this, to make their voices heard. And in all the deliveries, it is also on the focus is on what do providers need. So we always want to hear from the providers. What do they need? What is meaningful for them? What will help them be successful? What will help them in their business, and for their children, and for the families that they serve. I've talked a lot. I said I wasn't going to talk much, but so any questions that you have?
Yes, Emma, on that note,
Yes.
you are talking about resources and family. These are family-based childcare providers. What are the types of resources that they need? So you talked a lot about the workforce development part, so that's very clear. But in terms of like family engagement or healthy lifestyles, are they asking for anything related to that? Child development? I don't know.
Yes, so we did this landscape. So we have a collection of information of what the providers have asked for, and we know that they want professional development, but they're not specific to specific areas. So there is ask for specific curriculum, or something like I think health and safety, fiscal, health and safety, there's, I don't have it open here, but there is interaction, and I think emergency, dealing with emergencies. But yes, it's hearing from, asking and hearing from them, and then, categorizing their responses. Yes, but these are some of the ask, or some of the their requests. Yes.
This is great information. Emma, does anyone else have any questions for her?
I said I was going to.
I think it
Yeah, go ahead.
sounds like such a great, I mean, I just, listening to you talk about it just is so exciting, and your passion. Is there a way that we can, is there a flyer or a way that we can get people, share with people that are connected? I'm thinking the folks that we work with in the Kansas City area and stuff, I would love to share the information, the family providers. This is a great resource for them.
Yes, yes, yes. We have a flyer, and I think what I'm going to do is ask, will I be able to get your email addresses to send it, or should I send it to Natalie to send to all? Natalie, what will work best?
You can send it to me because I've got everyone's email address. and I can
Exactly.
forward it
Yes,
to
I'm
them.
going to do that, and then for our site, I will put it in the link in the chat. But then I'll also send it to you as well, Natalie, so you can send it to everyone. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thanks, Lisa. Yes, we want you to spread the word. Let providers know. They are all over, and it's great for providers to know that there's this one place. Yes, they can get all this. And I also want to talk to all of you that if we are having providers come to this site, and you also have information that you want them to have, yes, we can also link them, because like I said, this is all, we want this to be for the community. So here we can showcase, there's no need for us to do the body bicycles, right? Did I get it right, Scott? Yes, but then we can easily share that with providers on the in the network. Yes.
That's wonderful. Great connection going on. Great
Yes.
support for the early care and education programs.
Yeah. Mhm. Absolutely. You're right. Mhm. And they
Well,
need
Emma,
that.
thank you
Yeah.
so much for all this great information and for everything that the Family Conservancy does to support the programs. Thank you very much.
Very welcome. Glad to be here.
Okay, well, we're going to move to the next item that we have on our agenda today. And we want to talk a little bit about the implementation groups that we have going on right now. We have two that are up and running. The first one is about resources, and that is combining a resource list for multiple audiences, including the providers as well as the families. And so we have a small group that is looking at a list of resources. And then the other implementation group that we have is the data implementation group that's taking a look at the Go knapsack data on both sides of the state line. We do have a meeting tomorrow if you'd like to join at 11 a.m. That we're doing remotely, and we will be looking at continuing to look at the data of the knapsack report. One of the things that we wanted to share also was around, I guess it'll be our next project application. But I did want to share that our next resource meeting is Thursday, March 30th at 3 p.m. Again, we've been taking a look outside of the meeting time at the resource list that's been compiled, and then also prioritizing for what audience it would be relevant for. And this is going to be all around promoting physical activity, whether it is activities to do, whether it is information, And we talked about the implementation group, and then the next thing that we wanted to talk about was implementation project updates. So I wanted to give everybody an update, using that word a lot this morning. We met as a core group for the Casey Physical Activity Plan, and we did review the Start at Zero application. This was the second version that they had submitted. And the committee reviewed using the rubric that was provided. And at this time, we decided as a core group that we would like to give them another opportunity. They did not quite meet the threshold to get approved for the implementation project. We're looking for a little bit more information regarding their partnership with another sector. In particular, they had shared Parks and Rec. And so we wanted to get a little bit of partnerships started. And then also looking to enhance the sustainability piece of the application. So beyond this grant opportunity, how will the program be sustained? And so we will be providing that impact back to them, or that feedback back to them, that they can first reach out to Parks and Rec, talk with them a little bit. So that part of the implementation project is more connected. So it's able to process along and be successful for the whole implementation project. Does anybody have any questions at this time about just the status of that application? Anybody? You guys are a quiet group today. Okay. Well, we will keep you posted on the update as the core group reviews those, and we will let you know where we are on that. The other implementation project that we have been brainstorming a little bit, I wanted to share. Shelley, did you want to go over this, or would you like me to?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So the implementation project that we had talked about in our resource group was around compiling this resource list, and then really the importance of getting feedback from those that would be utilizing it. And so the implementation project, just to give you a little bit of a background of the proposal that we have drafted, we were going to request $2,500. And this would be for the compilation of the resources, and then reaching out to a group of family childcare providers and center-based providers, including Head Start programs as well, really kind of diving into an inclusive group to be able to get feedback on what current resources that they use, what's their go-to, and then also rating the list that we would put together. And then that would help to drive us as a small committee group to find out any gaps that are needed, so that we could work on collecting those resources, in hopes that the final project would be that we would have a nice, robust, inclusive list for both family, childcare, and childcare providers to be able to utilize to help promote physical activity. When it comes to the strategy and tactics that we already have in place for the early childhood sector, that's something that we wanted to talk a little bit about. Maybe strategy 7, tactic 2, which would be to collaborate with state and regional partners to promote and expand ECE program participation and quality initiatives. Some of the examples would be Missouri Move Smart, Kansas Links to Quality, and Missouri and Kansas Go Knapsack initiatives. We also, for system levels, we were looking at that the resource group is assessing and looking to provide access to families and providers to increase knowledge and skill development and help improve self-efficacy related to helping children, supporting children birth to 5 to be physically active. The other sectors at this particular time that would be involved, we didn't identify any for this particular program implementation. Something else that was discussed in our small working group around resources was, gosh, probably almost 3+ years ago. We had actually brought together some directors, center-based, as well as family childcare providers on both sides of the state line. And we had brought them together in an advisory sense to help us when we were getting the strategies and tactics together for the early childhood working group for the physical activity plan. And so one of the ideas was to re-engage back with them and actually provide a stipend to them to help review the resources and provide that feedback as well. Next steps for this project implementation would include, as I said, identifying any gaps in the compiled resource list, taking the feedback from the early care and education providers to assemble a list of the highest quality resources, really making sure that this list is meaningful and practical to them. We would rather have a list that's going to be used rather than a really long list that only a few of those resources are used by the early care and education programs. We also would like to, for the next steps, will be determine the best distribution model for both early care providers. So how are we going to get this information to the providers? Is it putting on our website? Is it printing and binding it? What would be most effective? And that this project is a one-time survey that won't require any additional funding, but there may be other additional projects may be identified in the early childhood sector to build off of this work. An example that we perhaps would include is future funding to support providers to help onboard them into promoting programs like Go Knapsack. And the next step of this group would be guided by the feedback of the providers and what they identify as their greatest needs for support. So I know I went over that. That was a lot of information. You'll see that we pulled it up on the screen here today. Any feedback, any questions with this draft?
I think this sounds really good. And I don't know if you're looking or if you'd be interested, but I may have a couple additional Kansas City ECEs that would be interested in participating.
Great.
They're very active in our Go Knapsack and have really stepped up and wanted to lead. So they might be interested
That would be
in
wonderful.
participating.
That would be great. One thing
Rhonda,
that,
I do,
go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I do have a language change and I'll send it to you. L2Q has been folded into a larger system that also includes our learning community meetings. So I'll send you that information, but we just need to make sure we switch that to engage Kansas side providers to the whole CCQIS childcare quality improvement supports.
That sounds great, Chris. Thank you. One thing that I maybe didn't see or I overlooked in here, did we explain in here what the $2,500 was going to be used for?
I wasn't sure what that breakdown would be.
Yes, thank you. Do those of you on the call, what are some ideas that come to your mind that we could include in this section?
I'll throw out one of the ideas that was talked about at the last resource meeting, and that was some practical incentives for people as they complete the survey. So instead of just giving money, what we really wanted to do as this group is promoting physical activity is having the funding for this project cover the cost of, I think it was Diane Craft's resources. And so Lisa can speak to this better than I can, but I think there's whether is it a book or a DVD, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it would be, let's just say, covering the cost of 5 of those, so that whoever completes the survey is then put into a drawing to receive one of these incentives. So again, the incentive aligns with the purpose of the work, which is to promote physical activity in early care and education settings. So it'd be applicable whether they were family-based childcare, people giving feedback, or center-based giving feedback.
You're right on that. It's a workbook and DVD. And
Okay.
I wanted, last time when we did the interviews, I think we gave them gift cards just for, and
Each
I will
meeting.
say, we just had a meeting with some ECE providers and trying to figure out how to encourage them to participate in things like this. And one of the things that was brought up and I think really resonated too was just compensating, prizes are nice and things like that, but really just compensating them for their time on something that they can do for themselves, like just a gift card for I don't want to, like Target or somewhere, or just an overall gift card, and just compensating them. This was from a director, and it did make sense because they give so much time. So I don't know if there could also be those incentives too, or if that makes sense, but it did resonate, and I hadn't really ever had any director say that outright, but it does make sense because they're always giving and doing and filling in here and there.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really valuable, important point too. And I was wondering, I'm not directly in the trenches anymore in the field. So I'd really rely on those that are. But one question that just kind of came to mind is, have we heavily saturated these resources to the childcare providers? Meaning just the work that I did several years ago, the Dr. Kraft book, the Sesame Street books, kits, activity cards. I mean, have we really saturated that? Or is there still more opportunity for those tools and resources? Or do you feel that the providers already have those? Just something I wondered.
Oh, I don't think so. I
Okay.
think those are still welcome because people always seem to be excited, but when she said that, I was like, oh gosh, I didn't really ever think of that. And that's all for us at the state, that's a sticky point. We
Mhm.
can't really compensate that way. So
Mhm. And maybe it's a blend that we could do both. I was also thinking that, and it could be other providers now, but like Kaplan had these activity kits. I'm sure a lot of other suppliers do as well. But maybe they can go into the drawing, the childcare center that provided the feedback can go into the drawing for those kind of resources. And then for those that actually spent the time to give detailed feedback, if that would be an opportunity.
We've
Shelley, does
also,
children's? Yeah, go ahead.
we've also, like for our breastfeeding friendly designation, we provide an Amazon gift card because, it's statewide, but then we provide a resource list to kind of guide them. I mean, we're not going to check up on what they use it for, and childcare programs need things, but we do provide a list of here's some breastfeeding supportive materials. And that's the same thing we're doing with some of our PALS training, giving the gift cards, but having a suggested list of physical activity resources, materials that they can purchase.
Great, that's good feedback too. Shelley, how does Children's Mercy have some really strict rules around the gift cards?
Kind of, we'll have to look into that if that can be an option. So I know we've done it in the past, but with that advisory group, we had an IRB application and a review of what we were doing as a project, and we could potentially do that again. That just slows down our work. And again, it may be slow anyway if we don't have a way to demonstrate a value to the person who's completing the survey. So it may not, may not matter. We may do it anyway. We will check into that and let you know. So I think this is still valuable to include in the potential application. That won't slow that process down because we need to really be honest about what we think it's going to take for people to respond. And it is going to take some sort of incentive.
Correct.
And so again, I'm open to all of the ideas. From a gift card perspective, the hospital has been trying to streamline where they're going to come from. And so I think they have a couple of options, whether, I don't know if we can include Amazon gift cards as that, but I think there's a pretty generic gift card. Like it can just be a gift card that could be used anywhere, kind of a thing.
Yep.
But we'll have to do a little bit more digging from that standpoint and see what it would take to get us to that point, which may take time, but it's likely needed.
I was also wondering for this, for the $2,500, would it also cover some, I was just thinking time on behalf of your staff, as we had talked about putting this resource list together, but also, having some details, just not like a title of the resource in a link, but actually having some narrative to go along with it. Just, maybe 2 to 3 sentences. And then that information then would have to go on to, if we choose to put it on the website, which we had talked about, the KCPA website, then the time for staff to be covered, or?
You mean our staff, Rhonda?
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
already being paid to do this, so
Okay.
we would not be double dipping. That would be a
Makes sense.
double dip in our.
Okay.
So that's part of the project and what we want to have at the end. I mean, it may take us a little bit longer to get there to do that, but that's fine. We wouldn't need any
Okay.
additional funding to cover that. No.
Okay, great. Any other ideas for the $2,500 that we would be requesting? Natalie, would you happen to have our strategies and tactics handy that you could bring up on the screen?
Give me 1 second.
Just if we could identify what strategy and tactics do we think that the project would support?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So some were proposed and I think that's really helpful, but it'd be great to get this group's feedback on which ones.
So I think we had listed strategy 6.
And
As a
Natalie, I've got it
possibility.
up on the website if you want me to share my screen.
Okay, that's fine. My screen's still loading.
Okay.
Shelley, I was wondering with the website, would some of the costs go to having Techie help us with designing or uploading any of that?
So we already pay them to update our website. If we do the content development, it should easily fit within what we're paying for them to do to support that each month.
Okay.
Now, if we wanted them to create some of the content, then potentially it would, but I think because we have the ability to keep going back we have the ability to adjust the application if we think we need funds for some additional reason. And so I think at this point, there's not a need to include that because we're already covering that part of the budget. If we think we want to get something done faster, then we may revisit the budget and say, okay, if we want to get this done by X date, it's going to require, I'm totally making up a number, but $500 for the website developers to make sure they can meet that deadline. If that makes sense, but it's a good question. If we're doing the legwork on the front end and they're just uploading for us, then that should easily fit within what we're already asking them to do.
Great. Shelley, do you want to scroll down or up
Yes.
to strategy 6?
Yep.
So just to recap, strategy 6 is state and regional partners should share and promote high priority best practices for physical activity in ECE. So that seems to kind of cover what our proposal is. And then the tactic was about compiling and disseminating, and then collaborating. So I'm wondering, as I read over this, maybe in this application, we put kind of what our next steps would be, is that we share this not only with providers, but maybe also opportunities on the local and state levels for consideration. So maybe that is, you know, talking to those that update the Move Smart, links to quality. What do you guys think about that?
I
I would
think,
agree. I
tac-
think
go ahead, Lisa.
that I don't have anything. Go ahead, Shelley. That's all. I agree. I think that's a good.
Yeah, I think tactic 1 and 2 fit nicely.
Mhm.
1, because it's exactly what we're doing. We're compiling and then disseminating the documents. And number 2, tactic number 2, I think aligns with our multi-level approach to this project. So we know it's going to potentially impact interpersonal or individual behavior, but the other one is organizing and oh my gosh, aligning. I can't remember what the terminology on our application is, but this is because part of the resources that we're promoting, compiling and promoting, is really specifically related to Go Knapsack and potentially Missouri Move Smart. Those are going to be resources that we include in there. It is promoting program participation in those initiatives that already exist. So I think by default, it aligns with that tactic as well. And mostly in a next step sort of a way. So we've compiled the resources. That's our first thing to do. What are we doing to make sure this is sustainable? Well, we're encouraging all of these other programs across the state, whether it's you know, like Lisa and her work to promote Go Knapsack, or Chris and, you know, aligning with the initiatives to promote best practices and encouraging Go Knapsack, and then same with Family Conservancy. I think that's part of the next step, is collaborating, ensure all of these resources are being promoted and used, and aligning the effort. So
yeah,
I think they both make sense. And we can
then I
scroll
think
down to 7.
Yes, yep. 7 was a little bit maybe not as clear if we wanted to include this strategy in one of the tactics as well. So this one is about early childhood providers should include physical activity resources and opportunities with family engagement efforts at the regional or program level. And so this is discussing physical activity with families, collaborating across sectors to ensure families have connections to resources, and including physical activity within existing family engagement efforts. Do you all feel that this is appropriate for what we're asking for this implementation project, or just staying with strategy 6?
Personally, I would make the case that 1 and 3 align with this implementation project. And part of my thinking related to that is because of Emma's presentation. And if they're working on the Family Child Care Network, and that's one of the reasons I asked about what resources are they looking at. So that's a really outstanding group that might benefit from resources specific to families and family engagement, such as the Early Childhood Toolkit that this group put together, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. So that's all around family engagement. So if we include that as a resource, and now we have Emma as part of this effort, now we're, and again, to me, it's part of the next steps
Yeah.
of this work. We're compiling that, and then we're promoting it to be used in family engagement types of activities. And so I see them aligning both and sort of in different ways, but I think we should include it in the application. So we're compiling as our main work, but our next step is dissemination for these very specific purposes that align with our tactics. Does that make sense?
Yes,
I
very
agree.
much so.
Yeah.
And then from a sustainability perspective, would we want to include that, you know, maybe annually we connect back with these quality initiatives programs to see if they've made any changes or any strides in incorporating these resources that we've identified? I don't know if we had a lot for the sustainability piece on here, so I was looking.
I think that's a great idea. If we have the capacity to do that, definitely, yes. You know, checking back, that's always a huge piece. And
Kind of helps close that loop for sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
I just don't, is the
Well,
capacity there to do that? That's the,
Mhm.
Well, we can certainly add that to like this work group's plan.
Mhm.
And I think, I mean, you all are the experts that can help us figure that out.
Mhm.
And I think
Yeah.
we have a lot of you on here to help
yeah.
make the ask, I guess. And then, you know, we can help on the back end in terms of compiling responses, but I think we
Yeah.
can add it to
Yeah.
the work plan.
I agree. I think that piece can be kind of an extension. And so it is added, but it is something that we are looking at, you know, being looked at to be added, and because it the work has to be done before, you know, you go back for the feedback and all that. So the feedback becomes something next, like the next step, something else.
Yep.
Yeah. So I agree.
It's great feedback. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. Is anything else that you'd want to add to help strengthen this application? We'll definitely go back and make these edits and additions and be able to move this forward to the core group.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question, and I don't know if it's going to be relevant or not, but it does make me think. So back to the beginning of the meeting where I think Lisa was sharing an update about Dr. Kraft and how excited people are to participate in and the numbers that we get. And the idea to try to bring people back in person. Well, professional development is included in our strategies and tactics. And I wonder if being able to attend an in-person activity with Dr. Kraft would be an incentive to people who we might ask to complete the survey about resources. And so is there an opportunity for us to include the cost to cover Dr. Kraft coming back for an in-person training? Is it worth sort of that double whammy? So we're using it as an incentive. So anybody who completes the survey gets attendance to this session, and maybe both attendance. So, I mean, if we're going to cover the cost of her coming, we should make it free to everybody. But maybe the second piece of that, if you completed the survey, is you show up at that training and then you get the DVD workbook that comes along with it. So it's a professional development strategy and tactic, and its incentive to help compile the resources. And then we set ourselves up for disseminating information at this in-person event that sort of makes compiling these resources a bit more valuable, because now we are disseminating it to far more people than might pay attention otherwise, if that makes sense.
Great idea.
I love that idea. That would be really exciting.
Okay, and do you all already have funds to bring her back? Or are you looking for funds to bring her back?
To bring her in person, I
Yeah.
don't know. I'll have to see about that.
Okay. And then we'd have to figure out what that costs. I don't have no idea what it costs. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that fits under. I don't know.
The other piece, if we're looking at, focus group attendees from both sides of the state, which we are, and in person, we could finally do there's more of a potential of doing a KDHE approval. But it depends on the location, but Family Conservancy could work through some of those details. Emma, Katrina, because I think that when we looked at it, it needs to be kind of a Family Conservancy supporting it, but that would be if it was held on the Kansas side. And I'm going to leave it up to the Family Conservancy team, but that's something to think about. I mean, you did have providers from Kansas, like you said, Lisa, 2 of which are my team members on the call, and they knew they were not getting KDHE hours. So there
Yeah.
are providers that want the information, no matter if they get those credits or not, and that's yay for them. But it's always an additional bonus if we can offer them those in-service credits.
And it can be done even if it's not held in Kansas.
Right.
But yeah, just a different form and we can work through that. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured you had some magical
Well,
working up there, Katrina. I don't work on that bi-state side, but I know you guys are experts.
We do it.
and if we were planning something like that, we wouldn't, there would be enough lead time to do that. So then we would just need to look at the dates or what, if we were, what we were thinking.
Great. Well, so 2 additional points I want to make with this application. Number 1, we just heard at our last core work group meeting that each sector will have at least $12,000, and it's $2,000 more than what we've been talking about in the past. So it seems there's been a review of the budget and what's been spent so far, and that each sector is the amount available to each sector has recently been increased, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
Because just that $2,000 should easily bring Dr. Kraft here if that were the case, and still not interfere with any other potential implementation applications. So that's one piece of good news. The other piece that we just talked about at the core work group meeting is initially we had talked about reviewing these applications on a quarterly basis, but because of the length of time that it takes to review these applications in our meetings, we are likely going to begin reviewing every other month. So we just reviewed in March, and we will probably review again in May. So what that does is give us a little bit of time to think about this application, revisit it in April to make sure if we're going to include these pieces, we have an idea for what would it cost to bring Dr. Kraft, what would it cost, and how many workbook incentives do we want to include as part of this? What additional things might need to be included in the budget, if anything. And so I just wanted to throw that out there as we're thinking about this. I don't know if we want to have one additional meeting from a group of people who are interested in moving this application forward to hammer out some of these details prior to the April early childhood sector meeting, or if you all prefer throwing emails back and forth.
I'd
Or if
prefer a
it's too
group.
early to,
I'd prefer a group meeting.
okay.
My emails get lost for me, but that's, a smaller group.
I would
That's
agree,
me.
because I think we can kind of hammer out, the group can hammer out the conversation and have that back and forth a lot more
Okay.
ease than waiting on email.
I'm going to propose something slightly different that it just hit me. Well, I don't know why I didn't think about this until now. Sometimes I have to talk, which makes me think. What if we tied this into the resource group conversation. Since the implementation project really came out of that group anyway. And if anyone else wants to join that group that didn't already get the meeting invite, you just let us know and we'll include you in that conversation. That way we're not necessarily adding more
Great idea.
meetings. Okay.
Great idea.
So our next resource meeting, if you didn't see it in the chat, because Lisa asked me this question, is March 30th at, what did I say, 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock. Yep.
Okay. If anyone else, if you haven't already received a meeting invitation for that, and you would like to be a part of it, either raise your hand now or send us, just let us know somehow that you're interested and we'll add you to that meeting invite. It will be a virtual meeting. Emma, are you saying you'd like to join? Great.
Chris, that's the one Amy will be joining, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So if Amy is there, yeah. Let's have it back. One of us can.
Wonderful.
Emma, you can confirm, but I believe when her and I spoke last week, it was on her calendar and she was going to plan on being there.
Okay. All right. Thanks. We'll talk tomorrow. So yeah, we'll be able to. Yeah. At least one of us should be able to.
Okay. Well, Emma, we're going to include you on that anyway, that way, because you can always decline it, but
That's
that
fine, yeah.
way it's shows up for both you and Amy.
That's right. Yeah. And I'm working closely with Amy on this project. So that's great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. And Lisa will fix the invite for you.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for your feedback and walking through this application. Thank you very much. In closing, just want to remind you guys a couple dates. Tomorrow, we are doing the knapsack report review at 11 a.m. virtually. And then we've got the next meeting, which is the monthly meeting for the early childhood sector, Thursday, April 27th from 9 to 10:30. Any last things anybody wants to share? Emma, you have your hand up?
That was from previous. I have to take it down.
Okay, no worries. Anybody else?
I'll just share the dates for the community baby shower. So this is just in case you have people you want to promote this with, but we'll include the flyer in the newsletter for this meeting. There's Saturday, April 8th and Saturday, June 3rd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And the location is near the Children's Mercy Adele Hall campus. It's in a building that's adjacent to the hospital, so you don't have to go into the hospital and parking is better. It's at 22nd and Holmes, which is right near where Natalie and I's offices are. But as you see that meeting, that flyer, it'll give you the specifics, but just in case, it is going to be like semi downtown Kansas City. Easy access right off 71 Highway and 22nd Street.
Great. Well, thanks for a great meeting, everybody. Emma, thank you again for joining our meeting and being the partner spotlight. And for those that are new to the group, welcome. And we will connect next month.
Great to see you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.